up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Conversation with Friends, part of the Conversation Corner. Today, I have my friend, Brittany Hand. Brittany, how are we doing today?
What's up? Doing great.
Good. Yeah,
Staying in, feeling good.
it's been a while since we caught up, and so it's good to finally get in contact with you and be able to kind of see what's been going on. Speaking of which, what have you been up to?
Well, staying in my apartment, going to the grocery store, and walking my dog. That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it, yeah. I know you kind of moved around. You lived in Houston, coming out of the Kansas City metro area.
Yeah, San Antonio, actually. So I have family in Houston, though. I moved to San Antonio in May of 2018. I was there for like 6 months and then came straight here to Denver. And I've been here since December of 2018.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. I heard you're working for a nice little advertising company now. I don't know if you're able to name names or not.
I can name names. I'll throw it out there. So I actually got hired on as a graphic designer for Sling TV in January of last year. And I was contracting for about 8 months, actually. And then they hired me on full time and I transferred over to their internal creative agency. It's called 110, but Sling is owned by Dish Network, which is headquartered out here. It's in Centennial, which is like 30 minutes from here. But I now work in kind of an agency setting, which is awesome because it's always been something I've been a little nervous to try because it's a pretty intense thing usually, but it was a good way to dip my toes in to like already be working at Sling and then kind of transfer over into the creative world with a ton of creative, smart, talented people. So
that's very cool. Yeah. I've always, I felt like I've had creative ideas and, I've always wanted to do maybe something like that and maybe take that over to Nike. And then when I moved out to Oregon, I met a lot of people like you do when you move out there that work for Nike. And one guy had some awesome connections and we got to talking. He's like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I'd love to come up with content for, some of their advertisements or, whatever they're trying to do. And then it comes to find out they use an outside advertising company. So I was like, oh, okay. So
I was wondering what happened with that. Cause I know that was like your dream going out there to do that. That's so disappointing.
Yeah, well, no, and it's not disappointing to the fact because it's still a goal of mine. I'm still on track with, getting back out there because I did leave Oregon and went back down to Houston for family. And I'm just, as I was out there, I'm doing the same thing I'm doing now, which is just continuing my school because I really didn't want to apply for a position at Nike till I felt like I had the full credentials that I knew that I wanted to have before, for that type of job. So I'm not really doing too much different what I was doing out there now that I was doing out there because it was just all prep before I would go after that job. But it was awesome being out there and getting to know the lay of the land, getting to meet a lot of people that already work for the company and kind of hearing their insight. And, it was really cool because I got to meet the CEO. I was only out there for 1 year.
Oh my gosh.
And I ran into Mark Parker, who is no longer the CEO, but was the CEO just a year ago of Nike. And of course, Tinker Hatfield, who, a lot of people who are sneaker people understand that he is the big time designer of Air Maxes, Jordans, and a lot of other brands that we wear every day. So I was fortunate enough just in a short period of time that I was out there to meet some really cool people. So it's still a goal. It's not something that I've gone away from. It's just, of course, taking a little bit longer than I was hoping, but I'll be there. I'll get there. And,
did you find out what the agency was?
I did not. I'm
sure you can find out.
I probably could, yeah. I'll find out for you. No, and actually how that came about is, I was working for a bank and one of the clients that came in just through talking multiple times, she's like, I know a guy and he's trying to do this, which he was actually trying to build a spacesuit for the lowest stratosphere or something like that. So they brought me on for maybe to help him with the shoe design aspect. And I was like, oh, okay. So, but when I went and spoke with him, he knew somebody through Nike and he offered his his services of hooking me up, but that never that kind of fell through, and it's more because I didn't follow up with it because again I didn't feel like I was ready for something like that.
Yeah, but that's crazy that like you moved out there for that reason and then weren't even like actively doing it and it just kind of fell into your lap. Like,
yeah, and you're right. Yeah, so it did give me more hope, I guess, to when I
yeah.
do get to where I want to be, that it might not be as hard or as scary. But I do know it's not something just because you know somebody that works there, you know, you can get a job. It's not like that.
Right.
They are pretty good about checking out people's
And you were
credentials.
actually in Portland, right?
I was in Portland, yeah.
What did you
Nike.
think of it? Because on like a list of like cities that we want to live in the US, it's on there. We I know it's dumb, but we're obsessed with Portlandia. We think it's so funny. And so like every scene we're like, yeah, we should go visit. And so it's just always been a place we were interested in.
No, that's funny you say that too, because I'm a big fan of Portlandia. And I guess what's really cool is that once you get there, uh, I started noticing a lot of places where they would do their
Really?
shoots,
Oh my
or
God.
would ask where they would do their shoots. And
That's so funny.
no, I think I personally love Portland because the city wasn't huge, but it's very active, but quiet
Yeah.
at the same time. Because when I first moved there, I lived downtown, and so I could open up my window and wake up to a nice, beautiful day, and it wasn't like that loud, crazy New York style. It
Yeah.
was just very, very casual, but a lot of activities going on downtown, uh, and
Yeah.
then you cross over the little river they have, and you start getting all those communities. But I loved it. I love the nature aspect of it. You don't have to go very far to be able to go get an awesome hike, see some good scenery, or whatever you enjoy doing outside. Everybody bikes. Like the metro, the transportation is
Sounds
very
similar to
easy.
Denver,
What's
honestly.
that?
It's not,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I would agree. A lot of people, of course, have their likes. Oh, well, I prefer Colorado, but being in both, I can get that feeling. I think what I liked
Hmm.
about it though, I almost felt like a little bit of part of the Midwest where we grew up, and I think
In
that's why I liked it.
Colorado. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Portland and all that. But Beaverton is where Nike's headquarters is, and I was only about 20 minutes away. So uh,
That's
I definitely
awesome.
would like to get back up there. It's a place that I really enjoyed, and I felt like yeah, had a lot to offer, I guess. So
Well, that's good to hear.
yeah,
I've been
I would
dying
take
to
a chance to
visit.
go out there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, well, man, why? I guess why don't you let everybody know kind of how we know each other?
Well, in 2009, 10,
2009, yeah.
2009, I was working at Sonic Drive-In for 3 weeks until I got fired because I could not hear anything anyone was saying on the speaker. I switched people's orders. All they trusted me to do was sweep the parking lot and cut limes. So that was my first job. And I got fired. I was devastated. And then I went to the mall and I walked into She by Journeys, where you were managing. And I was like, hey, I'm interested in working here. And I really had no idea how anything worked in the real world. And you're like, okay, yeah, let's take a walk. And you interviewed me. I got hired on the spot and I started like what later that week, the next
Yeah,
day, who knows?
yeah, yeah,
And I worked there for a year and a half, all like throughout high school until I graduated. Yeah, and that
yeah.
is how I know you.
And then it was really cool because we had that obviously work relationship, but then it was really cool because then I got to know you and your family outside of work, and
Yeah,
your mom is such a sweetheart.
I know.
You have to tell her
She's the
hello
best.
for me.
I definitely will.
Yeah, yeah. And so it was it's always interesting, like the people that you meet, but it's always interesting on like what they're like outside of like a job or whatnot, and kind of see what
Yeah,
they enjoy doing. And it was cool being able to go out to lunches with you and your family and your mom, even your grandma. I remember going,
I know.
yeah, having sushi with you and your mom and grandma. And so definitely
Yeah,
a good crowd to be around. But yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly right. So it was fun. We had some fun times. I think I still have a lot of those pictures of us goofing off when it
Oh,
was
definitely. There's somewhere with
quieter.
the
But
other Brittany.
Oh yes, yes,
And
that
she's in
Brittany.
Colorado too. I've seen her once since I've been here. We hung out one day. But she's in Aurora, I think.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
we keep up every now and then, and I thought she went to Colorado,
Hmm.
and maybe she went back to Kansas City, then back to Colorado. I don't remember
Yeah,
her
I think she
story.
went back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So yeah, she was my assistant that I learned so much from because she pretty much ran the store until I got to
Yes.
know how that job particularly worked on the inside. So
Yeah.
definitely.
I love that
Well,
job
I'm going to
so
go ahead
much.
and fire away and
All right.
go ahead and just whatever is on the top of your head, just go ahead and let the audience know
Ooh, okay.
whatever you're thinking, I guess. Uh, um, this has kind of been a fun one for some people. What is the stupidest thing you've done because someone dared you to?
Oh, the first thing that comes to my head is climbing like a 50-foot cliff and jumping off for a friend, which sounds suicidal, but it was into the lake. Um, there was a snake. I was just talking about this today because we attempted to go hiking. And as soon as we got there, there was a sign that said there were rattlesnakes. We're like, oh, good. But it reminded me of this, which was jumping off a huge cliff into a lake near a snake. And I did not know the snake was there. But I
Oh,
survived.
wow.
That was probably really dumb to do. First thing that comes to my head. Sure, there are
Well,
more.
what's the stupidest thing you've done on your own free will?
Hmm. Um, cut my bangs by a classmate during school. Probably. It was very bad. It didn't look good at all. I tried to pull it off. I saw pictures recently. It was a bad choice. Yeah. Yeah. Don't
Which is
recommend
kind of
it.
funny because I know you've always been fashion forward and you've always, had your hair done well. And so
It was
I can only
not.
imagine that
Yeah.
hairstyle that you try to give
Mm-mm.
yourself.
0 out of 10.
What is the most interesting thing you've seen online this week?
I actually look at this stuff all the time because of advertising. And there's this website called Adweek, and they always show like the number one ad for the week or a campaign. And Burger King was doing a do-it-yourself Whopper. So like
Oh,
their campaign was like, since you aren't going out, you can stay at home and make your Whopper. And the advertisement was just a picture of like every piece of their burger.
I haven't seen that one.
I thought
That's
that was
interesting.
cool.
I don't know how you can make your own burger from Burger King though, especially if they're flame broiled, and I don't
Yeah,
know. So,
yeah. But I thought it was interesting. And like a lot of companies have been doing that to try to support staying home and like against the whole COVID stuff, like Cards Against Humanity, you can now like play online virtually with your friends, which is genius.
mhm.
Um, yeah. Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned, right now we are kind of going through all this where everybody has to stay at home. I know a lot of
Yes.
people's like their sleep patterns have gotten all messed up and whatnot.
Yeah.
What time do you normally go to bed, and then what has been your Corona time?
So I normally go to bed during the week because when I'm working, I have to leave by 8 a.m. So I think we try to be in bed before 10. And then we've been doing the same thing, my boyfriend and I always say we, like, you know what I'm talking about. Um, since I've been working at home, that's been the goal, but I like can't sleep. I was up until like 2 a.m. the other night for no reason, like just lying there. Like I've had insomnia in the past, but I've been doing fine. And I don't know if I'm just worried about the world or what, if it's, Mercury. I don't know what it is. Um, but yeah, that hasn't been great. So I started taking melatonin. I don't think it does anything personally, but
Actually, that's what we've been
trying.
giving our boys is like they have these little,
It's probably better for kids. Stronger.
yeah, they have these little chewables for kids, and
Yeah.
I mean, my kids' sleep patterns are so out of whack right now. So probably
Yeah,
around 9:30, we try to, give both of the boys one of those melatonin pills, and it's working for them anyways because within like 40
that's
minutes or
good.
so, they're
I
knocked
don't
out with
know.
their mouth wide open.
I don't know if I can just feel like the world is just awake. Like, and I live in an apartment complex. It's not super loud or anything, but you can just tell it's just like an active vibe right now with everybody. So
How often do you look at your phone?
more than I should, especially lately.
If you were to
Especially
put that into
lately.
like how much time you spend, how much do you think you're spending per week?
Do you want me to look at my stats?
If you have them, go for it. Yeah.
Let me see. I think I could pull it up. Screen time. Oh, okay, here it is. Yikes. Just today, I've apparently been looking at my phone for just under 4 hours. What a
Just
waste.
4 hours of your time today.
Like
How
this
about for
whole
this week?
like what?
Does it tell you how long for
That's
this
so
week?
sad. Oh God, I don't. My average for the week is 37% up from last week. Hmm. 4 hours and 41 minutes average per day. Yikes.
So 20 hours, that's just 5 days of the week you're spending on your phone. Oh my gosh.
I thought I did more than that.
I
I
know,
will
it's
say
crazy.
though, having said that, I have been on my phone a lot just catching up with friends and family. Like I've been FaceTiming almost nonstop with my best friend, and I just called my little cousin today. So hopefully that is part of that because we'll talk for like over an hour. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, those are all good reasons. And again,
Yeah.
we don't have much to do sitting around every
No.
day at the house anyways, and so at least we know people are going to be home. And so we can just reach out and catch up with those
Yeah.
type of people.
Yeah, it's true. I always try to make an effort when I am working because I have a fairly long commute to work, like anywhere from 30 minutes to like 55 minutes in the morning and to and from. So I call my parents every single day because they live in KC still. And I don't really have time to talk to them outside of that. So I've been trying to make more of an effort since I haven't been driving to work to still talk to them because I don't want them to think like, oh, well, you only talk to us because, you're doing nothing else.
No, and I know you've always had a really
Yeah.
close relationship with your
Yeah,
parents. I'm sure they don't think
definitely.
that one bit. So,
No, no.
what are you really bad at?
Math. And you know
Math.
that. I think you know that.
The only thing I knew was you were really bad at hearing people's orders. I don't know.
Oh, and mopping. My mom came to pick me up right from work one night and I had to close and you had me mop the floors
I don't know
and
if I remember this.
I've never I had never mopped before. So I didn't know that you were supposed to like squeeze the mop out in the thing after you get it wet. So I'm just like slapping it on the floor and like the whole store was drenched because like why is it won't dry.
I really don't remember that. That's funny you say that.
Yeah.
So, and it was a
Mm,
small store, so it probably looked flooded
mm.
then.
Oh yeah. Yes. I think I'm better at it now. I have a Swiffer. Math is very bad. I have not taken math since my junior year of high school because I didn't need to take it my senior year to graduate, and then I went to art school. So, I'm good.
Yeah. Well,
Good.
good. That gives me hope too. Like if I ever gonna get into advertisement or whatever I'm trying to do,
Mm.
because I'm horrible. I feel like after eighth grade, everything just went out the window. It's like,
Oh yeah.
dang. So it's
Yeah.
definitely been one of my weaknesses too, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. We have that in common.
What's one thing no one knows about you?
Oh, I'm pretty much an open book. Hmm. Wow. Hmm. something that literally no one knows, or maybe like most people might not know?
Maybe, yeah, what most people
Because
don't know.
I don't know. I was born in Honolulu,
Okay. I guess I wouldn't
Hawaii,
know that. I mean, I
which
always thought you grew up in
most people
KC.
don't know. I mean, I did, but I was there until I was like 2. I'll keep thinking though. I'll think of
Okay.
something throughout this time. There's gotta be something.
At what age do you feel you became an adult?
That's a really good question. I would say, I don't know if I would say adult, but felt like I grew up a lot when I graduated high school. Not just because like I went to college and I was on my own, but I moved to Italy and spent my freshman year there studying design and learned so much about myself and my interests and just other people from all over the world. Um, and then I came back and went to the Kansas City Art Institute and grew up real fast because that was like the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It was so intense. And then I graduated from there and felt super accomplished, but then really spent like 3 to 4 years figuring stuff out. I'd say maybe Denver, like moving to Denver for it's almost a year and a half now. I'd say, I mean, you get older every second, so you're always probably going to feel older at that time. But truly, it's almost like it happened overnight. Like we came to Denver, we were super stoked to be here. We were going out all the time. Like all our favorite DJs came here who would like never go to Kansas City, and it's like all we wanted to do. And then it was just sudden. We're like, that doesn't sound fun anymore. Like we're going to bed at 9 o'clock. We have real jobs. We aren't getting trashed every weekend anymore. So honestly, I'm 27 now. So I'd say around 26, I guess, is when I felt
Hmm.
real adult lack.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, it's been interesting kind of hearing some of the
Yeah.
time frames that people have said, as young as like 15, 16, because they had to grow up so quick based on their
Wow.
situation. And then, a good friend of mine, he was like, how old am I? And he's 46. And,
He's like, not
but
yet.
right. And, one of my guests, he put in a perfect perspective as like the Peter Pan. And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I feel like that. I feel like I'm never really going to grow up,
Yeah.
even though we have to like be responsible. Of course, I have children. And so,
Right.
but I enjoy, just me time, having fun and catching up with people. And you're right. It's hard to do nowadays when you
Yeah.
have so much on your plate that you have to be responsible for sure.
That gives me hope though, because that makes me look at people older than me differently. Like they're still human and they think this way too, probably, and may always feel that way till they're 100. And they're like, yeah, I'm still screwing around, making fun of my wife. Like all these videos lately of all these hilarious old couples like messing with each other because they downloaded TikTok, and it's so funny.
Yeah, you're right. Like I saw an older couple, like they taped some beers to their garage.
Oh yeah, and they were
And
chugging the
so
beers like in their robes and like I love that. I
that's
want
great.
that.
Right. And I
Yeah.
saw another one today. This lady was like in her 80s, doing her whole quarantine thing, but she had a Coors Light and a sign saying running out of beer. So, I mean,
That's
things like
incredible.
that, like,
Yeah.
are, that's awesome that,
Yes.
we all try to stay young in our, I guess you're only as old as you feel. And so I think that's
Yeah.
awesome, seeing all these
Me
things
too.
about the older people still having a good time. And I hope I can continue to
Oh
do
God,
that
I
too.
know. How boring life would be.
So in what situation or place would you feel most out of place?
I am usually pretty comfortable. Most of the places I go, I feel like I find happiness almost anywhere, and go with the flow pretty well. But I went to Mexico City in November, and I've never felt more out of place in my life. Like culturally, it was a bit of a shock because the most I've traveled outside of the US has been to Europe, and Europe still has a fairly American type of vibe. as far as the culture goes, besides how relaxed they are, especially with work. I went to Mexico City, and it was like the busiest place I've ever been. People were up all night long, and people were eating crickets and just drinking straight tequila at the bar. And I couldn't really drink tequila straight. I didn't want a cricket. I tried cactus. It was actually really good. I realized I like spongy food. It was spongy.
Hmm.
I had a cactus salad. It was good. But it was just different. Like I only spent 2 to 3 days there, and it was just a lot. I loved it. It was a good experience to do something so different, but at least as of now, that's the most out of place I think I've ever felt. But I don't know if I'd say in a bad way, just different.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, I can relate because I've had some family gatherings, and some of them, they get in their groups of speaking Spanish, and I'm just like, yeah, what are you saying?
Yeah.
Like, are you talking about me, or,
Yeah, and everyone I was with, not even people that lived there that were just visiting that just happened to know Spanish. I'm like, man, I really should try to learn another language. It really opened my eyes to like how many languages people know. Like I met a guy that spoke 7 languages, and he was like my age. I'm like, what are you doing?
like,
How,
where'd you find the time to learn all this?
how do you
If
know
you're
this?
not,
He's like, I grew up this way. I'm like, all right,
okay,
I need to
yeah,
try
no.
harder.
And my dumb ass, I took French when I was in high school. I don't know
Me
why I took
too.
it. I guess I was like, well, everybody's taking Spanish. What am I, and I guess when you're
Totally.
that young, you don't think you're ever going to use those languages. And I
No.
just wanted to do something different. But that is one of my many regrets, I guess, is not attempting to maybe even just learn Spanish, because now
Yeah,
there's
I agree.
so many opportunities that if I could have just known Spanish, when it comes to either meeting people or even jobs, you
Oh,
know.
I know. I think about it all the time.
Right. I had a friend reaching out looking for somebody to help him with his real estate. And I was like, oh, great. And then when he messaged me back, he's like, can you speak Spanish? I'm like, nope. I
No,
look like it, but I'm sorry. I can't, I can't speak
just
any Spanish.
assuming. Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. I think that's something that makes me feel uncomfortable anyways, is being around when you can't
Yeah.
relate, for
Yeah.
sure.
This would be a good time. Duolingo. Start
There we
learning
go.
some Spanish. Make it a goal.
What is the best and worst part of your personality?
The best I would say is I'm easygoing, outgoing. I feel like I make friends with everybody everywhere I go. I think the worst thing is that I'm a big procrastinator, and that annoys certain people. My laundry is still sitting here. It's been here for like 3 days. um, that's annoying. I know it's annoying. I'm annoyed by it myself. So, yeah, I'd say that.
Okay. If you had, if you had, if you had the opportunity to give any advice, what would it be to your previous boss?
Oh, care about people more. Give a shit. Um, the last, well, I guess any previous boss or my literal last boss.
Hi.
That is
Hi.
my littlest one. He's running in.
Aw.
Yeah.
Hey.
And I'm sorry,
um,
you were telling the story about.
no, you're good. Like
No.
my actual, like my literal previous boss or any previous boss. Because the first one that comes to my head is a time that I had gotten laid off. Um, Literally like on the phone while I was at the grocery store. And it was just a dumb situation where they were like selling their company and they were laying off the contractors first, which was me. And I found out that night. And then I literally saw him a month ago at the airport in Arizona. Like,
So did you guys make that
and I,
awkward eye contact and just
no,
walk
I
on
could
by?
see him. I was just like staring him down. So I'm like, you ruined my life. But he didn't, because he, technically it brought me here. I really do believe that everything that happens obviously leads you to the next thing. And that had I not gotten laid off there, who knows, I could still be there. I didn't love it that much anyway. Um, but I feel like in the corporate world, um, I don't know. I can't tell if they care that much about the little people. You just always have to be thinking about yourself and taking care of yourself, because unless you have like a personal relationship with people that you work with, um, they just care a lot about themselves and their money. And so I've tried to keep that in mind, especially with my future and like wanting to own my own business and have my own schedule. But I will say with my job right now, I seriously love it so much, and I work with the best people ever, and it's like a literal family. So I don't have worries about that. But definitely in the past, I got laid off like years in a row, just contracting over and over again with design jobs. So, yeah.
Okay. No, and I mean, I can relate because I think that's one thing I try to stay conscious with whenever I'm in those positions is that, I try to take into consideration other things that may be affecting them outside of work, and if I
Yeah.
feel like there's anything wrong, like I hope that my employees feel comfortable enough to talk to me and be like, today's just not a good day, whatever reason. And so, but I do understand because I've had bosses too, I guess I can say for my previous boss is, I was doing so many great things with the company, with sales, being the top performer and doing all this, and yet it felt like he was never satisfied. It's like, well, what more can what more
Yeah.
can I do? Because I'm like number 1 or 3, in the entire nation. Is there more that you want me to do? Like, and I know my last boss, we kind of had that falling out, and it caught me off guard, and I was
Yeah.
just like, okay, thanks.
Well, I will say from experience, I think you're a very good manager when it comes to that kind of thing. Well, you care about people.
Yeah, I
And
do, and I try to teach my staff to know just as much as I do,
yeah,
because I think that's one thing that either newer bosses or people that take on that responsibility is they don't train properly, I guess, and so their frustration, I think, comes from them just assuming that they're going to be able to do this job. But I firmly believe you got to start from the moment that they start, and just train them along
that's
and not
great.
get ahead of it. And so, but thank you for those kind words
Yeah.
for sure.
I mean, I know I was young, but I still remember that. I still loved that job so much. It was a great time, but I took it seriously enough for it to actually get me somewhere else in the world. So,
Well, good. And
yeah.
again, I appreciate that. Those are some good words. I am one that if there's something I learn, I want to spread the wealth. And, if I find a bit of success, I want other people to come along with me. I'm not selfish in that aspect. Like, well, see you later, because
That's
you can't
good.
do it.
It's very
So,
important. Yeah.
well, I know you were saying though, when you were in your car taking those drives, like to work, for example, you spending
Mhm.
the time talking with your parents and not. But what do you think about when you're alone and in your car?
I'm usually listening to music if I'm not on the phone. Um, I usually, what I'm thinking about is being that person that I'm listening to, like on a stage. Like, like what a dream to be like playing the guitar or singing and having like thousands of people just seeing you rock it out. Think
I
about
could.
it every time. Every time. I played the guitar. I played it forever and, gave up, but not because I wasn't interested. I'm just interested in so many things. I'm always interested in something and I do it for a while and then I try something else. And it's kind of a blessing and a curse, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Did you still follow soccer at all? I know you were big into soccer.
Well, so I played for so long, like 14 years, and then I played in high school. I played varsity. I would have school all day, have soccer practice, and then come and work and close and like do it all over again. It's just so crazy to think about. I don't know how I would do that now. Like, what a long day. But then I played a bit in college just for fun, like intramural kind of stuff. And that's the last time I really played. But my boyfriend and I got super into Sporting KC, actually, over the past few years. So we were going to their games a lot, which was a lot of fun. He really likes like international soccer. We actually just went to Barcelona for our 27th birthdays. We're 3 days apart.
Oh, wow.
So we just happened to be going the day that they were having El Clasico against Madrid. And I have a friend that works at Sling that I was trying to talk to because I know they had a client with someone in Barcelona. I was like, what are the chances we can get tickets? And it didn't work out, mostly because bombings in Barcelona and people protesting. Did you hear about all that?
I
In
didn't
October?
know. I heard about that.
Yeah, so the game got completely rescheduled. I think it happened in December. But it was a really weird time because we were going to Barcelona and Porto, Portugal, and France. And it was within a few days that we were there that protests were not happening, but it had been happening for weeks leading up to it. But we had, the trip planned all year. So we went, but we kind of took a chance because like police, like office buildings were on fire. Yeah, like it was really intense. But we were fine. We made it through. Glad we took a chance.
Nice.
What was the question? Soccer. Yeah.
I
Oh
went
my
off.
God.
I went off and was asking me. Still, we're
Yeah. But yeah, so we like to watch like Barcelona and Madrid too.
cool.
Yeah. On Sling.
No, I know you're still, in your 20s, you're still, quite young, I feel. And
Yeah.
but is there anything that you wish you have accomplished by now?
I wish I had been working longer than I have, but I mean, it is what it is. While I was in between, like trying to find design work and graduating college, I was a server for a bit, but I honestly, when I graduated, was like, I'm done with design. I'm burnt out. This was absolute hellfire. Like, I can't do it anymore. So I was like, I'm going to work in the music industry. So I kind of did. I mean, I was volunteering for 90.9 The Bridge. I was volunteering for like every festival that you could think of that came through, middle of the Map Fest. I got a job at Uptown Theater, just like as like working on the event staff. And then I ended up getting hired to be like their office admin. I sold tickets and stuff, and it was a blast. I was doing concert promotions for Mammoth. They host a lot of the concerts in KC. Like there was no room for growth at all. The pay was horrible, and it was so much fun, but you can imagine my sleep schedule was different then. Like you're literally up to 3 a.m. because you have to be. And so I don't regret it or anything, but I do wish that by now I had some more experience. Since I lost my job so many times and I've moved multiple times, I'm making up for my debt that I'm trying to get out of, but I'm feeling good about it and everything. I do wish I had been smarter with money, I think like a few years ago, but again, like I don't regret it because I got to go on these great trips, got to go on fun trips with friends and go to concerts. So I don't know. I'd probably have to think about that more because I truly like believe people are where they're supposed to be for a reason. Even if it's not going well, it's supposed to get them through something. So yeah.
Well, no, and I think that's good that, you were able to get all those experiences, and, or to be able to experience all those by now, because that's what life's really about is creating memories, having good times, trying to be responsible along the way. But yeah, no, things like that, I think you shouldn't have to pass them up, especially if you can do it at that moment for sure. So
I agree.
no,
I really do.
and I think you're on the right track because you're doing big things. I know,
Thanks.
even with newer with the company that you're at now, you had a pretty awesome experience with one of your I think advertisements, because weren't you on
Yeah.
Times Square also?
Oh my God, it was a dream. So, like I had mentioned, I moved over to the internal agency at Dish. So I'm now working with like 50 other creative people. And before it was literally just me and one other girl. And we still really are like the only two designers for Sling. We're the main people. But now we have help finally, thank God, because it was becoming insane. But so as soon as we switched over, we were like merging marketing teams, and the Sling brand team gave a presentation for what they wanted to do by the end of the year. So I'm watching this like mock-up that another agency did of Sling advertising in New York Times Square on New Year's Eve. And it said like, spoiler alert, the ball drops. I'm like, that's hilarious. I love that. I hope we're doing that. If we are, I have to be a part of it. Like there's no option. Like I have to do it. So since I was on the brand team before, I contacted my friend that was on that team. I was like, hey, I have to be involved in this. I don't care how, like, let me know what I can do. So I was constantly trying to get updates from her. And then the project came over to our team, and we were basically told to be split up into two groups, like 5 people per group, some copywriters, some designers, and just come up with as many headlines as possible, and then animate them for the opportunity to have an animated billboard in Times Square. So I came up with, I don't know, probably 40 ridiculous headlines about Christmas time and Christmas Eve and New Year's and like post New Year's and all that stuff. And I think we moved forward with 5 concepts that were chosen by the brand team. And 3 of them were mine, which is nuts because the brand team on Sling chose them and they didn't know who wrote what. So like, even though I was friends with them and I knew them and I worked there, they didn't know who wrote the different options, which was even cooler for me. So then, yeah, I have a friend now that's living in New York, and I was like, hey, I heard our designs might be up. Is there any chance you could take a video for me? And she was like, oh, I'm at Macy's. She was like already there. I'm like, okay, perfect. Because that's life sometimes. And she got a video for me, and it was surreal. Like I couldn't explain the feeling of like working so hard for so long, trying to figure my life out, and coming here and like all of a sudden being successful and like seeing not only my, designs, but like my thoughts, like just like stupid things that I come up with, like actually working out. So my favorite one, I can tell you what they all were, but my favorite one that I think was their favorite was cable can be a real kick in the snowballs. And then it was an animation of like 2 of those. It was like fuzzy dice, but they were just like big white fluffy balls, and they just like came into the screen like this and like hit each other.
That is awesome.
Popular.
That is awesome.
Sign up. What was it? Sign up for Sling and get off of Santa's naughty list. And then there was like a post New Year's one that was sign up for Sling and lose 10 pounds immediately by ditching your cable box.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Those were the ones that they went with. It's fun.
Well, that's
it was
awesome.
a dream. It was a total dream. Like I'll never forget it.
No, that's very cool, and I can only imagine what you're
Yeah,
saying, finding out. Oh my God, that's actually my idea right there.
Yeah. Then I watched like New Year's Eve live on TV, and I saw it. I saw it on the screen. Like, just so nuts. It was incredible.
That's awesome. Well, I know you're going to come up with some more great ideas, and
yeah, I'm hoping so.
I'll keep an eye out for some of those. You have to keep me in the loop and be like, I got another one. So
I will. I think I shared a few things on Facebook recently of like all the COVID stuff. Mm-hmm. I did come up with this post that said, life with sling, life without sling, and life with sling was a roll of toilet paper, and life without sling was toilet paper like falling off, and it was like an empty roll. Because no one has toilet paper.
Right,
We
right.
have one roll. Like I don't know what we're gonna do. Can't
Yeah,
find it anywhere.
I just posted today because I've been seeing a lot of good posts, but I saw a He-Man one. Of course, he's got this sword up. His was just basically, I got, instead of the power, I got
The toilet paper.
toilet roll. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's the
true
one
though. It's like, higher in the totem pole if you got these toilet paper rolls.
Right, right. No, I just
Nuts.
made one of those. One of those risky trips. It was just yesterday because I really enjoyed the toilet paper from Target. Like I like their 2-ply. It's a good.
That's such a specific thing. You really
Well,
love
I
Target
mean,
toilet paper.
it's kind of like my Goldilocks because it's not too soft, but it's not too rough.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it doesn't leave lint. Blah blah blah. But their
Yeah.
their aisle has just been bare for weeks now,
It's
of
so
course, and so.
weird.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to
I'm
start
gonna have
just
to get a
using whatever's
bidet.
available.
I'm gonna
What's
just
that?
build a bidet in my
Well, that's funny you
apartment.
say that because my solution is if we run out, haha, I just said shit, but
Yes, you
no, if we
did.
ever run out, literally, I'm just gonna jump in the shower. Like I'm
Oh
fine with
yeah.
that.
I mean, at this point, maybe it'll help people be more conservative with their toilet paper. Maybe we'll all stop using as much paper in the world.
All right. Well, I'd just like to end with one last question, and if you had the world's attention, what would you say?
Actually, my dad told me something, I think just a few weeks before we all started quarantining or social distancing. So this was our 4th week. I think that I've been working at home. Um, and my dad's just he's a very positive person, is always trying to like look at the better things in life, just with a more positive outlook. And he was telling me, and I think this is great. I think this is such a great thing to live by. So I was sharing it with my coworkers. But never say anything negative out loud. Like, don't text it to people. Don't say it. Like, just when you're thinking about a certain situation happening in the future, you just can't. If you think it, you think it. You can't help that. But don't say it out loud, because when it comes the time that you're in that situation, it will literally be more likely to happen because you put it out there in the past. There's like some story about a baseball player who is known as the person who ended his career by a ball going through his legs because,
Hmm.
do you know it?
Bill Buckner, yeah, for the Boston
Because
Red Sox, yeah.
because years prior he was interviewed saying like his worst nightmare or something, and he was like, man, I think my worst nightmare would be if I was in a game and it was like the end of the game and the ball went through my legs. And it did. Like years later, it happened to him. And that's like all people know about him for. So it's
Hmm.
a very real thing. So I've really taken that to account, especially with everything going on with COVID and just life right now. Just don't say shit out loud that makes you feel bad or other people. Just don't put it out there and just try to think positively. I know it sounds like such a hoax and maybe just like a go-to like shitty thing to say, but I think it's so true to just like put positive vibes out there, think positively, you know, don't don't not do something because you're scared of it. I moved twice now just to do something new, and it is scary, but I genuinely believe that if something scares you, it's something that you should probably try. So I'd say
No, and
that's what
I'd
I would
agree
tell
with
the
both of
world.
those.
Stay positive and go for it. Whatever it is you want to do. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think those are great words. I could definitely relate. I think a lot of people can relate.
Yeah.
Like you, I didn't want to be stuck back in my hometown. I love my hometown. I love all my friends I know back there, but
Yeah.
there are also so many people that are growing up and their parents lived there growing up and now still there, they're still there. And I never wanted to be or felt like I was just, stuck
Still
in it.
there.
Yeah, still there.
Yeah.
And so that's when I just picked up, and my first big move was to Phoenix, and I loved it. And it was scary. I knew nobody. Well, I knew one person, and he was able to help me kind of get situated. But it was a scary thing, just picking up, moving. I didn't have a job. I just knew that I wanted to get away. And so it worked out. And now I've moved to a couple different cities. And I remember in one of my college classes, it was my sociology class, and we were talking about life cycles. And, it's crazy how, you just kind of almost go through life as, through a tunnel, just doing things that you think you have to do. Right. And from that moment, I knew I never wanted to live by what if. And so I'm one of those that if it could go bad or it could go good, but I never want to wonder what it would have been like if I didn't take that chance. So I've picked up and moved a couple of different times like you. And if it wasn't for those moves, all these people that I'm talking to through this series, I probably would have never met. Because now I have friends throughout the nation, and a lot of them are very welcoming to, like, hey, if you're ever in the area, don't hesitate. And so I'm glad I took those steps, even though they were very scary and big steps, especially at a younger age. And I've been able to just, to have those great memories, make those great bonds and friendships. And I agree with you. I mean, you just kind of have to dive in and see where it goes. And then as for the positivity thing, people that know me, I know some people kind of just take it with a grain of salt or don't believe in it, but I was introduced back in like 2008 to The Secret. And I know some people have seen that. And it just talks about the law of attraction. And
it's so true. It really is.
Yeah. So from that moment on, if I catch myself thinking too much about something bad or too negative, I try to snap out of it because you're right. The mind has energy that can ascend out into our universe or whatnot. And it's crazy if you kind of almost train your mind to think in a different way and how things start working out. And so I believe in the power of the mind. And like I said, that whole law of attraction, whether you think of something negative or positive, if you keep thinking on that or honing on that, that's what's going to manifest. So I think those are two great examples and two great things that people could take away.
To anyone that is trying to move, seriously, do it once and you can do it 1,000 times. Like, it's just scary. The unknown is what's scary, but once you do it once, it's like the best choice of your life, and then you can do it as many times as you want because you've done it already. So you just gotta do it that one time.
You're right. You're right, definitely. So I agree with all of that. Well, Brittany, I want to thank you tonight for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It's been so fun catching up and being able to see where you're at nowadays and what's been going on in your life. We've been able to build this great relationship and going on, a little more than a decade now. And
I know.
It's just
so weird.
It's just crazy to see where people are at right now. But I just thank you for joining me tonight, and we'll definitely have to keep in contact continue to keep in contact.
And good luck with all of this. This is such a great idea. I'm so excited for you. I think it's so much fun. I'm glad people are up for it. So keep doing it. Keep on
I
going.
will. I'll throw a couple more episodes out there. So.
Okay, I love it. That's great.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you again for joining me on another episode of Conversation with Friends, presented by Conversation Corner. Catch me again on my next episode where I catch up with another friend and see what they've been doing in their life. I'll see you soon.